So I'm not an Illusionist main, nor do I play one on the YouTubes, but I am extremely interested in Enigma New Moon. She's a super cool design space and is a tinker builder's dream. So today let's talk about why I think she's so awesome, her build lines, her key cards, and yes, her weaknesses. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my fab friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. And thanks for joining me today. And that's right, we're talking Illusionist in the positive sense. I know me, right? The warrior player talking about non-board spam and talking about positive Illusionist and all that. But I really, really like this hero in terms of the design space and the design concept and her flexibility and everything. And you know, you all know me. I have a huge love for the Blitz format. I think a lot of that's kind of really originates from Crucible of War and just the massive explosion of diversity and different design spaces they explored. And I feel that a hero like Enigma, call her enemy, whatever we want to call her, I feel it really kind of embodies that spirit of this is a hero that has some really, really cruddy matchups, but can also do some really, really, really cool things and be really, really good and just explores design space and pushes the limits and explores what the mechanical base of Flesh and Blood can do. And I think she's really, really awesome. So the first thing I want to address here is her being a gold pack hero. And I do respect that. So first off, I can bet you. So the first time we saw, this is the first time we've seen a gold pack hero. First time we've seen a gold pack, therefore, brother. I would bet you a beer. I'll bet each one of you a beer that this is not the last time that we will see a gold pack. And by the way, that's a bet we can never collect on because until Flesh and Blood dies, I guess we can collect on it when Flesh and Blood dies, but then you got to track me down. But either way, my point of this little exploration rant is I think we're going to see the gold pack or some similar concept in the future. But I really kind of like the way that they did this. And I know a lot of people had negative emotions about there being a playable hero out of it. But the reality of it is she's a legendary. And if you actually do the math of how the gold pack fit into the set, right, there were five other legendaries, in the set at roughly a case per frequency. So that's 20 boxes that you'd have to buy to get a full distribution of that. She appears roughly once in every 20 boxes is what we've found. So she's basically on the sheet, same appearance as a normal legendary in terms of overall distribution. And actually, she's extremely cheap, right? In keeping in spirit with legendary heroes released after Shiana post-explosion, she's $15. Emperor was like $10, $8 for a while. You get it. So she's relatively cheap to achieve. And actually, that's kind of a bonus of this deck. This deck's actually not all her builds, I should say, not this deck, because I'm not covering a specific deck today. Actually, lead in, I do have a deck tech up for the Blitz series, Skirmish Season 9 series, which is available currently to members at release in August. And I do have that for one of the builds, okay? But Enigma herself being $14-15 in that range. This deck's not actually that expensive. Her builds are not actually all that expensive, which is pretty cool, okay? Now, as I mentioned, the coolest thing about Enigma New Moon is her number of flexible builds coming off of the one single hero. So let's go ahead and look at what she does. So her inherent starting ability is that equipment you own get cloaked. Now this is not an optional ability, it is mandatory, which means everything you bring to battle starts face down, and the definition of cloaked means that being face down, it is completely, utterly ineffective. So you can absolutely start to draw some very realistic conclusions about how she stands up in terms of AB against wizards and so on. But her ability, her instant, if you pitch 3 chi, turn target face down equipment you have equipped face up. If it has ward, create 3 spectral shield tokens. Now, don't be a dum-dum like me and miss it the first time. Because it says target, you do have to have a target in order to activate. I screwed that up. Thank you, Twitters, for correcting me. But one interesting thing about this ability is it is not once per turn, which means that, because how often do you do the chi thing where you do one and then you do the other one and all of a sudden you've got 2 chi in hand? Well, now you can flip 2, right? That's a very, very, very cool part of her. Okay, so on top of all of those flexible builds and her ability to just kind of make the ability to take stuff to the face if things aren't going well, assuming it's not unpreventable, she also has a really cool move in that she's probably the best positioned hero to play Cosmic Awakening, right? So Cosmic Awakening is the one where the more chi you pitch to it, the stronger it gets, with its ultimate being, if 3 chi were pitched to pay the 9 cost, comes in for 20, which, let's be very clear, in Blitz format, especially in-game, is pretty good. It is pretty good, right? So this thing being, you pack a 2 of in all of her builds, and that way, even if you just have to spend your whole game just pitching to stay alive, flipping to stay alive, putting stuff out to stay alive, eventually you recycle your chi, you've got this baby in arsenal, maybe just get lucky and draw it with all the other blues you've got in your deck, boom, for 20, suck on that. Okay, so let's talk equipment with her. So equipment is the key. Remember that she only gets the Spectrals if she flips something with Ward. Okay, so this is actually very important for a couple of reasons. So the current preferred equipment suite is Diadem of Dream State on the head, Wave of Reality on the arms, which is very, very, very commonly seen one, but has Ward 1, and then when it takes a hit, actually poops out your Spectral, which helps you. Heirloom of Rabbit Hide on the chest, which actually has Ward 4, which is not irrelevant. And then, interestingly enough, there are no leg pieces with inherent Ward. Now, Meridian Pathway is the correct choice with her, but there is an important thing of note about Meridian Pathway is it doesn't have Ward inherently, okay? So Meridian Pathway only gains Ward if you, A, choose to give it so, but it's when you pitch chi, but it has to be face up for that to work. So again, if you read Enigma New Moon's ability, so it's 3, pitch it to her, and then turn it face up, which means that by the time this is turned face up, the chi's already been pitched. So this itself does not have Ward on its own thing, right? If you do things that interrupt it, it could in theory work that way. And by interrupted, I mean, on the resolution or whatever, right? But this on its own does not actually come in with Ward. So what you're limited to right now are 9 Spectral Shield tokens from her equipment. Well, I guess it's 10, with the gloves, right? But you understand what I'm driving at, okay? So Meridian Pathway on its own, be very careful on how you resolve that. Could in theory come with it if in stack and it's flipped, but again, by the time it's flipped, it's not pooping them out. So you have to be very careful. Be very careful on that, okay? So again, I want to be very clear you're limited to 9, okay? So let's go ahead now and move into her build lines, right? Because this is where she gets really awesome, is the variability with which you can build her. So there are 3 main builds with her. There's an OTK build, there's a combo strategy build, which is my preferred one, and that's actually the one that the deck tech is available on. I will link it here. You can't, there we go. I'll link it up there. And then there is a value grind strategy, which pretty much counts on, if we're being honest, it pretty much counts on just constantly owning pressure. It's not really a fatigue plan as much, but it's definitely a grindy strategy to try to get to your in-game move with throwing 20 out their face. Okay, so the OTK build out of the gate does use Cosmo. So what's cool about Cosmo is it says during your turn, so it's not during your opponent's turn, by the way, which I don't know how relevant that is or not, but during your turn, or as you control with Ward, are weapons. So where that's important is for cash out, because cash out says as an additional cost to play it, you may destroy any number of weapons, equipment, and or non-token items you control and create a silver for each produced this way. So the play is you have a whole bunch of them, you cash out, produce a whole bunch of silver, and then you utilize the card 3 visits, Ward X, where X is 3 times the number of blue cards you've pitched this turn. So what you're essentially doing is turning Enigma into Melody, right? For lack of a better analogy, but you're doing the Melody play. What you're trying to do is utilize that. The reason that the silver comes in is you're trying to pitch to the silver over and over and over again. You draw the card off of it, use that to pitch, and you just build up this big pitch zone, and then you come in for 3x that. And it's not all that different than, again, our in-game plan, which is come in for a boatload, which they can't do anything about in a 20 health format. So you've got your OTK thing going there. Okay, and it's very good, right? And actually, I've seen it go off as early as like turn 2 or 3, right, depending on the chi they get. Now, it's very much glass cannon because after you kind of do the thing, you kind of don't have anything left. But hey, if you can come in for 25, 24, well, it would be a multiple of 3. Now, wouldn't it there, Andrew? All right, fair enough. Okay, now, my favorite build on this is the Pew Spectrals combo, which I'm showing across the screen right now. So the way this works is it's all about Sacred Art Immortal Lunar Shrine, which unfortunately for the build is a legendary, but probably fortunately for everyone else is a legendary. So the way this works is you play Immortal Shrine, declaring one mode, because that's come up in tournaments, right? Even though it doesn't actually matter from the pure resolution standpoint, it matters from a game standpoint, and people will judge kill you on that, as we've clearly seen in tournaments. So make sure that you declare your one mode when you play it. Don't worry, when it resolves, you'll get them all. Before resolution, play another Transcend card. You allow the second card to resolve, it transcends and becomes a chi in your hand. Use that chi, this is all on the stack, by the way, all on the stack. Use that chi to pitch to New Moon. You then flip, you create 3 Spectrals, you repeat the process for anything else you have in hand. You then allow Immortal to resolve, creating 2 Spectrals and putting counters on all of the ones that you have in play. And then this one becomes a chi in your hand. And then you have at least 3 chi in your hand, and you just go ham, pew, 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 for 2. Now, I have never seen an instance where this actually closes out the game, but what this does is it puts your opponent on a back foot enough, and with all of the chi that you've created and produced already to flip the shields that you've gotten to at this point, what it does is basically push them into a very defensive standpoint where you can start throwing stuff and they have to be worried about defending on it, tempo's in your favor, and then eventually you get your in-game plan and you come across the top. Right, so I think that's a very, very fun build. It's like very Dash reminiscent for me. And then last build comes in with the value grind strategy, and this one uses Iris of Reality, right? So the previous 2 builds definitely use Cosmo. The last one is using Iris of Reality, and all you're really doing here is trying to put stuff in and just come in for 4 base. Any +1s are just extra. 4 base with Go Again. And you just keep coming. It doesn't really consume you any cards net to attack. It definitely does to get stuff out and then to take hits, of course. But in terms of attacking, you're basically just doing that in a grind strategy. And what this does is you're getting your stuff out, you're attacking with them. And what you'll end up finding with this Grindy Moon version is that you'll end up setting yourself up for that kill shot again using your kill shot, right? So the other cool thing about this build is that you can kind of deviate a little bit and start to take advantage of some of just like the really high value illusionist stuff. So you can use Phantasmaclasm, which is just a 3/9, and sure they can pop it, but you get to do the thing. You get some hand curation. Doesn't work against every hero for sure, but Phantasmaclasm's like a pretty decent value card. It's also really cheap. You also have a card like Miraging Metamorph, which is just a 1/7. Now, to be clear, you don't get the go agains and stuff because you're not running Luminaris, right? So just make sure you're keeping that in mind. But like just coming in for like a 3 for 4 go again, followed by a 1 metamorph or something like that. And then if it's popped, you actually create a copy of one you own, which means that you actually backfill, even if you got it popped, which is just helping you with your strategy, right? So you have stuff like that. And there are all sorts of other things you can explore in terms of that. But again, what you're trying to do is really just grind them down and set them up with doing your chi, and also because remember, chi still pitches for normal resources, still pitches for Iris. What you're trying to do is just grind them down and eventually come in for the kill shot where they can't do anything about it at all. Okay, so that's my take on her overall. Again, I want to remind you, I do have the deck available, but overall, have some fun with this hero. This hero is super cool. Now, what I do want to say before we get out of here, and I know we've mentioned it a couple times already, when her equipment is cloaked, you have a very real problem with arcane damage. There's no other way around that. Basically, she has to just try and survive by throwing out the ward stuff and hoping that you'll be able to do it. Again, throw out a blue ward, take a hit, transcend, throw out some more wards, stuff like that. Pretty much, I think against Arcane, probably you're just going to have to try and survive. And also remember your your AB equipment, if you do pack it, you have to flip it to use it, and it doesn't poop out Spectrals. So it's an uphill climb. Let's just put it that way. But doesn't take away from the fact that this is a solid tier 1.5. Well, depending on what you at A, B, C, it's a solid like B.5 tier hero. Let's put it that way. Okay. So anyway, I love this hero. I think it embodies everything that is right and awesome about Blitz. If you've had a chance to play her, let me know. Now, going back to the gold pack thing, I don't have this hero and I'm not going to buy her because I'm convinced that one day I'm going to get a gold pack and I want to open her myself. I don't have dreams of opening the super awesome one. I just want to open this myself because I want to open a gold pack. Anyway, if you've opened a gold pack, let me know. Either way, awesome stuff. Love this hero. Go Commando.